Sup everyone, this is Draco Evolve. I hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend. To coincide with a new haircut, I'll be doing a sort of like a new video around the transfer saga of Bruno Fernandes. So what's been happening in the January transfer window since the rumours first circulated to today's latest transfer window, sort of like a timeline. So sit back, grab yourself some coffee or tea, whatever, and enjoy. So, just to quickly recap, United were in for him last summer. However, nothing materialized, with Tottenham Hotspur being the closest club to actually signing him. There was widespread reports that United were not willing to pay the money that Sporting were demanding for their prized asset. This was further confirmed by Bruno Fernandes, the Sporting president, saying that the details of the Spurs bid was the only serious offer they received last summer. He said, "It was impossible to retain Bruno Fernandes, but we did it. We prepared for his sale by putting a fair price on him, and we have had bids, but the only serious offer was from Tottenham, and that was 45 million euros. Plus another 20 million in bonuses for winning the Premier League and the Champions League. Those are difficult objectives, so we chose not to accept." Bruno Fernandes himself came out and said that an agreed deal with Tottenham this summer, but a move was blocked by Sporting Lisbon. So there you have it. Last summer, United were interested in him, but nothing ever materialized from Manchester United. In fact, the only closest team that came to a serious bid, according to Sporting, was from Tottenham Hotspurs. And thus we ended the summer with no Bruno Fernandes in sight in a Manchester United top. And we have buried that past. We have all kind of moved on from the pain of not being able to sign Bruno Fernandes, despite needing a centre midfielder and especially a creative midfielder in our team. Fast forward to January 2020, and having injuries to McTominay, Pogba, it meant that the only fit central midfielders we've had in our club is Matic and Fred. The Old Trafford crowd became restless because the team's creativity was extremely lacking, and you can understand, everyone can understand, everyone outside the club can even see that United need a creative midfielder at the very least. Thus, the chance started at Old Trafford, and losing to Manchester City in the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg 3-1 intensified the whole project. Then came the widespread rumours of apparently Mike Phelan and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going and seeing one of the games that involved Sporting Lisbon, with Bruno Fernandes playing in that game. When asked by one of the journalists directly whether he was there in the game, Ole refused to deny and accept the question. And on the same Friday, later on the day, there was a mysterious figure coming in to Old Trafford, clearly hiding his face, and it sent the internet into a whirlwind. Widespread reports were coming through thick and fast from the Portuguese media, and later being picked up by the British media, saying that the Sporting hierarchy was in London, especially in the United head offices at Mayfair, trying to negotiate a deal. United apparently have accelerated this potential deal, especially growing tensions between fans and the board owners, and the board owners' lack of spending in the transfer windows, and also the team's performances on the field. After a few hours of so-called negotiations, reports were emerging that the Sporting hierarchy did not travel back to Portugal. Instead, they stayed over in London, and apparently reports were coming out the next day that they were still negotiating, and we all know how long United take to negotiate a transfer deal, and this was proving to be the case in this particular saga. Over the week, reports were coming out that Bruno Fernandes himself has agreed personal terms with Manchester United to join them in this transfer window. However, the big stumbling block was the negotiations in terms of the transfer fee. And widespread reports were coming out that this was the only stumbling block in terms of pushing this transfer through in the January transfer window. Sporting, according to reports, were adamant that Bruno Fernandes plays against Benfica, a huge rival of Sporting in the Portuguese league, on the 17th of January. And according to reports, United were apparently not so much of a fan of Bruno Fernandes playing against Sporting, but Sporting wanted to ensure that the fans and Bruno himself said their goodbyes in his potential last game for Sporting Lisbon. Like myself and many other Manchester United fans, I am sure everybody was watching the game. All the press media attention was on Bruno Fernandes, what he'll do after the game, and as soon as the game ended, nothing really happened. There was no sort of tears or goodbyes from Bruno Fernandes himself. Instead, he just shook the teammates' hand, the opposition players' hands, and went into the tunnel. Now, back to this weekend, reports were coming out that Manchester United were willing to offer around £40 million with add-ons. What this add-on means is, depending on how Bruno Fernandes' performance is, depending on whether Manchester United win the Premier League, depending on whether Bruno Fernandes becomes a Ballon d'Or winner, fees will be added up to make up the bulk of the supposed £60 million fee that Sporting were demanding. And here we are again, back to what United are actually good at, which is to potentially mess up deals that is purely based on the transfer fee. The club owners are clearly penny pinching. As fans, and in my personal opinion, a Bruno Fernandes type of player is what Manchester United needs, and we don't need to care about what we are paying his wages or whether we're playing 70, 80, 90, 100 million pounds. We need performances on the field, because at the end of the day, regardless of how much you pay, that fee will double if Bruno Fernandes has a very good season. And him having a very good season will mean that Manchester United will be having a very good season, and revenues will soar, because clearly revenues is the only thing this board cares about. So let's have a look at his bio. He is Portuguese. He's 25 years old. He will be 26 on September the 8th. He plays primarily in the attacking midfield position, and so far this season he has played 26 games in all competitions for Sporting, contributing 15 goals and 13 assists. That is more than all our midfielders combined. And the huge advantage you are going to have by signing Bruno Fernandes is that he will be fit. I mean, we are in the middle of a season. There will be no sort of fitness regimes for him. He can literally come into the team and start playing. Mind you, there are some murmurs going around that Manchester United, who play Liverpool later on this afternoon, if United were to get a heavy defeat, they will kind of push ahead for Bruno Fernandes transfer just to appease the fans, and that is a pretty much a good tactical approach by the board. As you guys would expect, if United lose heavily, the club morale will be down, there will be chants, etc, etc against the board. What a perfect way to kind of silence everything by announcing Bruno Fernandes. And if the latest reports that is are said to be true, United are not far in kind of brokering a deal through, because at the end of the day it's just a few £1 million valuation apart, and I reckon we should just pay the money and get a player like Bruno Fernandes, and he will potentially turn our season around, especially for the all-important top 4 position. On to today, the 19th of January, there are reports coming in that Bruno Fernandes is expected to play in Tuesday's game, and because the deal is not being done yet, the pressure is firmly on United's court to pay the money and get the deal done, because Sporting are willing to sell Bruno Fernandes is willing to come. It's just the club is not willing to pay the cash that is being demanded for the player. Even the coach came out yesterday, and when asked whether Bruno Fernandes has played his last game for the club, he said, "I hope not. So far, we don't know. Nor does Bruno know. We will try to keep him for more games, but it's not up to us. The only wish I have is the best for him." So there you have it, guys. This was pretty much the whole saga so far of Bruno Fernandes' potential move to Manchester United. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think we will actually sign Bruno Fernandes? Do you think Manchester United is tactically waiting after the Liverpool game, because we all are expecting Liverpool to give a beating to Manchester United, and to appease the fans they announced Bruno Fernandes? Or do you think it's just a ploy to delay the deal until January 31st and tell the fans that, look, we tried but nothing ever happened, thus we continue into the season and hope for a rebuild in the summer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, stay farafari.